Hello turtles, welcome back to Outside GameDev. We're gonna go for a hike up Moose Mountain to the Moose Ledge. We're not doing the whole thing. You guys might have recognized this bridge from the last episode that was released. It'll be linked at the end of this video where I talk about it a little bit. Today we're gonna be talking about how do you choose your next project? How do you know you're gonna pick a fun project that you're gonna be able to finish, that people are going to want to buy. The process I outline here though works really well for finding a great game to work on. That's what we're going to discuss today. Also, make sure you stay tuned throughout this video because I had a little moment. Good little story there, mostly outside stuff. So if you're into the game dev, then I don't want to clickbait you, but it's part of this adventure. This whole video basically assumes you're going to be doing indie game development as a career more than a hobby. Maybe a hobbyist will enjoy parts of this video, but this is really focused on those that are trying to make sales and money. So just go into that with mind. Are you a hobbyist? Go wild. Go wild with your creations. Make whatever you want, whatever your desires. To me, that's the advantage of being a hobbyist. You're just there trying to create whatever you want. It doesn't matter if you're making sales. This isn't your career or anything that you're dependent on money from. I get even as a hobbyist you do want players, but you're creating games for you. You're creating for the sake of creating. So go crazy, make something fun. So what do you want from your game? This could be more than financial. Like obviously a career as an indie developer, you want money. You want to be able to make enough money to keep going. But is there anything else that you want? Do you want to gain experience in something specific? Try something new maybe? Do you want to create some assets that you can reuse for future games, or maybe some technology like tools? For a lot of my little games, I'm trying to create features and technology that will eventually help my dream project. And I think this is a great tactic, right? You're still releasing things along the way, but also building up a big feature set, other tools or features like leaderboards and maybe even online multiplayer in smaller steps that can eventually get you to your dream project. So you're trying to create your next game. I have a great process for that. Effectively, you want to create a lot of ideas, like 20, maybe even 30 ideas. These ideas are only a sentence or two. It's basically, here's some mechanics and here's a theme that go along with it. It's not a fleshed out idea. There's not a whole lot of details to it. It's just something really quick. Don't put a lot of thought into these ideas because they might not go any further. Generally, how I do this is while I'm developing a project, any ideas that sound good, whether it's inspired from like social media or people on my Twitch channel, if there's an idea that sounds good, I'll throw it in this idea dump. I'm gonna sit on this rock here. I specifically call it a dump because it can contain good and bad ideas. We're not judging whether the idea is good or bad at this particular moment. We're just brainstorming a whole bunch of them. Take a week or two. Even, like if you're not even in the middle of a project right now, taking a week to actually brainstorm many ideas, it's a good process. Once you get to 20 or 30, what do? Well, you score them. You score them on how attractive they would be to an audience. How likely is it that you can share this game with others and they're gonna be interested, right? As well as how feasible is the game to you? How do you even know your idea is gonna be feasible? A basic rule of thumb is to try creating stuff that you've created before so you have a good foundation already, and to not do anything that would be twice the size of scope that you've done before. So if you've only made a game jam sized game before, something in like 48 hours, try taking something that's gonna be a week long, but not any bigger. If you've made something that's taken you a couple months, try to make a game in 4 months. This assumes that you've worked on this type of game before. If you're going from racing games to making a role-playing game, for instance, you might need to back down the scope. Possibly stay about the same size that you've done before without making it bigger. It's already gonna be hard enough going into a new genre and new mechanics that it's going to expand the scope for you. So effectively what you're trying to do is ensure you're confident that you'll be able to do the game you're setting forth in the time period you want. And that's really important because as indie game developer career, you need to make sure you know what your projects are costing. I know we don't all want to make it about money, but at the end of the day, we do need to pay attention to our bills and get enough money that we can continue paying them and move on, right? That we can continue making our indie games. Because without some money coming in, we're not going to be able to keep creating indie games. We're going to have to go get a real job. Ugh. Real jobs. They are safer. They provide a nice safety net. Paycheck is very easy. It's way easier to make money than it is to try selling indie games. So pick your scope. Make sure the game idea that you're going to do is not more than twice the scope of a previous game in the same genre, or a similar scope that you've done if it's a different genre. Don't go doubling that scope. After that, go through and score all of your ideas. Doesn't matter how you rate them. You could use a 1 to 5 system. That's what I typically do. You could use 1 to 10. However you want to rate them, whatever works best for you. Go through each of those ideas that are just a couple sentences and figure out how attractive are they and how feasible are they. It might also be worth paying attention to your secondary goals, like do you want to gain experience? Do you want to build technology or tools or create assets that you can use in future projects? Does the idea fit those secondary goals? Kind of rate it on that too if that's important to you. Otherwise, the feasibility and attraction to an audience is the most important ideas here. Those are the ones that the audience are going to care about and you as a developer to actually finish. And once you've got all the ideas scored, sort them. Sort them by best to worst. Take the top 10. If like 11 is squeezing in, go ahead and grab 11 too. If 9 and 10 are pretty low scores compared to the rest, like the top 8, then just take the top 8. Do whatever makes sense to basically get about the top 10 to move to the next step. Give those 10 ideas more details, more information, like how are you going to tackle the project. It doesn't need to be super detailed again, but you need to have a high level overview of how you expect to tackle the project and how your idea is actually attractive to an audience. Like what pieces would be your marketing, your key interest, right? What would you use for your key art or your trailer? What would be the highlights of your game? Just a few bullet points for each of these. Really high level. Once you've done that, you start scoring again. Same exact scores, but you wipe out the old ones. Sometimes you'll find the scores are similar. Other times you'll find out that when you actually put more thought into the development and how you're going to tackle it, that you'll wind up basically being like, oh, that was a little harder than I anticipated. Or maybe it's actually going to be harder to get the audience to enjoy this game or really want it. Maybe the idea I had isn't actually as attractive as it looked in my head as I try to list out these bullet points and like think about why the audience is actually going to care. The scores will change a little bit. Basically sort them again, and this time you want to take about the top 3. This area is actually pretty cool. It's like a rock staircase, and then we got this really steep spot up here. But consider the core of your game when you're doing the planning of attacks. What is the minimum bits that make the game fun, that actually give the game value? Identify what the core loop is and really feel out how you feel about that. Is the core loop bigger than you expected? Sometimes it is. After scoring and sorting that next batch of entries, you get to do it all over again. This is basically the process. You can go through many more ideas and even chop them down slower if you wish, but I do about 3 steps. Effectively, you add even more details about how you would go ahead and develop it. You would add even more details about how it's attractive, and you would really figure out if it is going to meet your secondary goals or not. And then you score one more time, and you'll find what the best game is for you in this particular moment. When I went through this with Turbo Boom, I was really shocked. Well, this is a crazy step. Let's be a little careful as we jump over here so that we don't die. Okay, so yeah, as I was starting to say before that step, Turbo Boom was not my first pick. I actually really expected that another game was going to be winning that battle. I don't recall what the design was. And currently, Turbo Boom is the only one of my games that has gone through this system, which was back in 2019. You might ask, why didn't I go through the system with Accelerate? Because Accelerate was found a different way. Accelerate was found through doing GameDev 46, and it was a fluke. It was just a really fun idea that was well executed in the time of a jam. I got top 12 for fun, and critiques that I had in the comments basically led me to bring that into a full game. Anyway, so Turbo Boom is the only time I went through it, but Turbo Boom was not the leading game. I had a clear picked winner that wound up not even making the top 3 in the feasibility score. It wound up showing me that that game was actually going to be harder than I wanted when I took an honest look at how I would go about developing it. I mean, I really thought that was going to be the winner. In the early stages, it was number 1. But when I sat there and actually kind of gave it more details in that final step, it didn't wind up that way. Always keep in mind what you're aiming for your project. Are you expecting to learn something? Do you want to create some technology or tools for future games or even assets? Just what are your goals? It could be a leader project. Maybe you're trying to make something for free that will lead an audience to you. If you want to know more about who your target audience is, why that is important to you, and how that's going to make you make a great game, check out my last video in the Outside Game Dev series, where we talked about how to define your target audience while walking around Wheeler Pond down below. If you enjoyed this episode of Outside Game Dev, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, share it with other developers, and leave a question below. Maybe it'll get answered in a future episode. Until later, turtles, have a good one. Enjoy. Encore hike here. I was about to listen to some music on my way out and down. I dropped my MP3 player. Yeah, let me see if there's a way down here. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see actually the MP3 player. Obviously you gotta be very careful, and if there's no easy way down, I won't go do it, but we'll see. Maybe you can see it down there, maybe you can't. Yeah, so MP3 player. Whoops, that happened. That was probably one of the sketchiest things I've ever done. Got it. Whew. Every step was terrifying. I almost died again. Not because of that reason. Every step was into super soft moss. But if you see this hole in between the rocks, there's all kinds of caverns like that. So I'm like trying to figure out if by any chance there's a covered cavern, because it could happen very easily. A couple sticks cross it long ago, some dirt starts building up, whatever. It's very easy for there to be like a false floor that you just step on and your foot goes into that cavern. And with every step I'm like, where's the ground? Is it solid? And I'm stepping on this moss, which is really soft, so you can't really tell if it's stable or not. Whew. Nope. Not again. But I succeeded. I got it. Here's the MP3 player in my hands. Yeah, I'll let you get back to game dev. You guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.